Welcome to Learners Academy once again. I'm your host Mona Bhatia. Today I'm explaining you a poem which inspires us not to give up, come what may. The poet is William Ernest Henley, who was a writer of many books of the Victorian era. Henry is remembered most often for this poem, Invictus. This poem is dedicated to all those unconquerable souls who are the master of their fate and captain of their soul. Let's begin with the poem now. Invictus. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. Here in these lines, the poet says that despite all the hardships or troubles that surrounds him like a dark night full of sorrows, that darkness or sorrow may be as dark as pit means a hole in the earth. From pole to pole means all over the world, from one end to the other. Alright. He still thanks. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. He still thanks God for a soul that is unconquerable, that is so strong. That means he is able to face any circumstances, any situation due to the strong souls which cannot be conquered. In the fell clutch. What is the meaning of fell? Wicket. Clutch means traps. In the fell clutch of circumstances, I have not winced nor cried aloud. The poet says that when he went through the wicked trap of sorrow and unfavorable circumstances, wicked circumstances, he has not cried. He still did not wince or cry. Wince means jerk with pain. That means he had not expressed grief even when he had to suffer pain under the bludgeoning of chance. Alright. The chance here means under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Chance here means fate. Under the violent strokes of fate, violent beating of the club. Here bludgeoning means beating of the clubs, but here we'll take it in like wicked ways of the fate. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed means he has suffered but yet not accepted defeat. He is unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears. Poet further tells that beyond this place of wrath, wrath means angers and tears means sorrow and sadness. Beyond this place of sorrow and sadness, the fear of death looms the horror of shade. What is the meaning of horror of shade? Means death. Looms. Looms means something that hangs. Something that hangs overhead, like a swords of Damocles. Beyond this place of sorrow and anger, the fear of death. Death also hangs on our head like a swords of Damocles. There are certain unknown threats, but yet, he says, the threat of what may happen later does not make him afraid now. That means he is not fearful of the future suffering and the menace of the years. Menace means troubles or threats of the years. All those things that may happen later, that have found him or shall find him, will leave him unafraid. That means he will not be affected by them. He'll not get scared because of those threats of the years. Now, how straight? It matters not how straight the gate. How straight the gate means how difficult the entry into the new world may be. How charged with punishment the scroll. See, the poet is trying to tell us that the soul has to pass through the scroll of punishment. He is not afraid of how narrow the gate is or how many punishments are there for him to go through. So, I am the master of my fate. The poet is confident that he is the master of his fate and the captain of his soul. That means he decides his own actions and thereby his own fate. The poem deals with the idea that no amount of hardships in life can control over souls if one is control over anybody's souls if one is determined. Thereby, I take the responsibility. I will take the responsibility of everything that is happening to me in life. So I will do whatever I feel like and I will decide my fate. I will be the captain of my soul. Certain questions that we need to think and answer. What is poet thankful for? The poet is basically thankful to God for the unconquerable soul. Because of that unconquerable soul, he is able to have a control in his life. Which line shows that poet suffered hardships bravely? There are two lines in the poem. I have not winced nor cried aloud. Alright. The second line is, my head is bloody but unbowed. So these two lines shows that poet suffered hardship bravely. What is meant by the place of wrath and fear? It means the place where we all are here. Place of wrath and fear is the place where we all live. That is the world. That means the planet Earth. What does the poet have full control of? The poet says that he has full control over his fate and his soul. Basically, he has full control over his action and he takes responsibility of everything that he does. So, he controls the fate also. Figures of speech is an expression that uses words to mean something different from their ordinary meaning. Figures of speeches are mostly used in poetry, but sometimes they can be used in prose also. They are used to bring images into your mind, to heighten the meaning or make lines musical or to draw your attention. In this poem, we come across many figures of speech which have been written on the right hand side of the slide. I'm going to take up each one by one. Out of the night that covers me. The first very line has got two figures of speech. First is metaphor. Here the gloom or sorrow, sadness have been implicitly compared to night. Alright, that means night means sorrow or gloom that covers me. Now, the word night has been given the quality of a human being, of covering somebody. Night, sorrow, has been given the quality, animate quality of covering. So, the next figure of speech in the first line is personification. The first one was metaphor because night was implicitly compared to sorrow or gloom. Alright, now the next line has black as the pit from pole to pole. This line has three figures of speech, or hence this is very important line, and you must know that whenever there is a use of word as and there is a comparison between two unlike objects, that figure of speech is called simile. Alright, here black as the pit. So pit, the night, that sorrow of the night, sorrow that covers is as black as pit. So here the poet is trying to compare the sadness and sorrow that covers the poet as black as pit. Alright, now the next figure of speech is repetition, because the word pole is repeated 2 times for a better poetic effect. And there is one more figure of speech because the letter of the sound P is repeated 3 times in the same line, pit, pole and again pole. So the figure of speech again is alliteration also. Now we come to the next line. In the fell clutch, in the fell clutch of circumstance. The circumstance here have been personified of making a wicked trap. So there is a personification in this line. Now line number 7, under the bludgeoning of chance. Here, chance, that is fate, is personified. It is said to be beating the poet with a club. Alright, so again there is a figure of speech which is personification here. Chance is personified. The previous line, the fate, the clutch, fell clutch of circumstances. Circumstances were personified. Now in the line number 8, my head is bloody but unbowed. We can take even two lines together whenever we have to see alliteration, because the meaning of this line is complete in this line. So the bludgeoning, the sound of letter B is repeated here 3 times. So the figure of speech here is alliteration. In the line number 9, beyond this place of wrath and tear, again there is an implicit comparison between two unlike things, as if the two things are synonymous or one. Here the earth, that is the place where we live, has been compared to the place of wrath implicitly. Now we move on to the next figure of speech in the last stanza. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. Here there could have been an exclamation if there was a exclamation mark. How charged with punishment the scroll. So but here we'll consider this to be a inversion, because the scroll is charged with many punishments should have been the correct prose order. However, they did not use exclamation mark, so we are not using exclamation here. The only figure of speech which I am able to find here is inversion. The correct prose order should have been how charged with the punishment the scroll should have been. The scroll is charged with many punishments. Critical appreciation of the poem. The title of the poem is Invictus, means the one who is unconquered. The author of the poem is William Earnest Henley. The rhyme scheme of the poem is A B A B. Now the figures of speech. A poet has used many figures of speech in order to make the poem appealing and to convey the meaning strongly. There is a line in the poem, black as pit from pole to pole. This line has 3 figures of speech. You can mention this one. It has got simile, because the sorrows are compared to the darkness of pit, black as pit, to the blackness of the pit. Alliteration, because the sound of letter P is repeated in pole and pit. And there is also repetition because the word pole is repeated thrice in this line. Imagery is also used beautifully in this poem to describe the scene, as in this line, my head is bloody but unbowed. There is an image that is created in your mind. Now there is in the line, out of the night that covers me, there is personification as well as metaphor. Now there is personification in the line, in the fell clutch of circumstances. Now there is a central idea. The central idea of the poem is that problems are part and parcel of our life. There is no escape from problems. Everyone has to face problems, and hence we should deal with them positively and not let anything disturb us. One must never give up and give in to his or her fate. The poem inspires me to take the responsibility for everything that is happening around me. Now, why I like or dislike the poem? I like this poem very much because it encourages me to live life to the fullest, no matter what. The poet motivates me to take charge of the situation and act accordingly, rather than sitting around and crying over something. In life, everybody faces difficulties, but it is how we react to it that matters the most. After reading this poem, I'm ready to face any issues that comes my way and tackle them bravely with a positive attitude, because fortune smiles on those who never give up. Thank you for listening. This was the whole explanation of the poem Invictus. We'll be presenting you with yet another poem in the next session. Till then, keep watching Learners Academy and keep learning. Thank you very much.